Back in 2024, NVIDIA released its cheapest RTX graphics card yet, the RTX 3056GB, with a launch price of just $169. It might be the most affordable modern RTX GPU you can buy. Today, if you want smooth 4K gaming, you're usually looking at spending anywhere from $700 to over $1,000 on a graphics card. So that got me wondering, can a GPU that costs barely 1/5 as much actually handle 4K gaming? And can it take on one of the toughest jobs an RTX card is built for? Let's find out. Thankfully, this isn't one of those ancient pieces of hardware that takes weeks of digging through eBay to find. Compared to the $1 hardware challenges I've done on this channel, finding an RTX 3050 was surprisingly easy. What surprised me more was the price. After searching through eBay listings, I noticed something interesting. The RTX 3056GB launched at around $169, yet even 2 years later, the price hasn't really dropped. In some cases, it's actually selling for more than its original launch price. And if you're looking for a low-profile version, things get even crazier. Those can cost almost twice as much. While shopping, I nearly made a mistake myself. One of the easiest traps to fall into is looking at the pictures instead of the specifications. I almost bought an RTX 3058GB because the listing photo looked identical to the 6GB version I was searching for. The problem is that manufacturers often reuse the exact same cooler design across multiple models. From the front, they can look almost identical. One of the easiest ways to tell them apart is that the 6GB version doesn't require an external power connector, while many 8GB models do. And honestly, this is something that worries me about buying used hardware online. A lot of sellers don't even take photos of the actual product. Instead, they'll grab a random image from the internet and use it for the listing. So if you're shopping for used PC hardware, don't trust the pictures alone. Always read the specifications and description carefully before buying. To get the best possible price, I headed straight to the auction section. Because if there's one place to find a bargain on eBay, it's there. After scrolling through listings, I found an RTX 3050 priced at around $130. That's noticeably lower than what most of them were selling for. Naturally, that made me suspicious. So before placing a bid, I messaged the seller and asked about the card's condition. Had it ever been repaired? Were any components replaced? Was the warranty sticker still intact? The seller replied, "The card is original, just a little dusty from office use," which doesn't really answer any of my questions. It wasn't exactly a lie, but it also wasn't exactly reassuring. It felt like one of those answers that's technically correct while carefully avoiding the thing you actually ask. Still, this is one of the most important parts of buying used hardware. You can never know everything through messages alone, but asking specific questions makes it much easier to spot sellers who are vague, evasive, or trying to hide something. And if a seller can't give a straight answer, that's usually an answer by itself. At the end of the day, I still needed this card to complete the build. So after digging through listing after listing, comparing prices, photos, and descriptions, I finally settled on one for $149. Before committing, I reached out to the seller, just to make sure I wasn't about to finance someone else's e-waste problem. Fortunately, the conversation went surprisingly well. He told me he'd recently upgraded to a newer GPU, and this one had been sitting on a shelf collecting dust ever since. Now, I'm not going to pretend this was the deal of the century. It's a used graphics card with a history I can only partially verify, but sometimes the goal isn't finding perfection. It's finding something that makes sense. And in this case, the numbers added up. The seller even covered shipping, which took a little bit of the sting out of the price tag. At that point, I wasn't chasing a miracle. I wasn't expecting a factory fresh card that looked like it had just rolled off the production line. I simply wanted a GPU that could show up, do its job, and prove that my money hadn't gone on an unexpected adventure. If it can manage that, I'll consider this purchase a win. The card was estimated to arrive in 3 to 4 days, so there wasn't much left to do except wait. And as anyone who's ever bought used hardware knows, waiting is often the most dangerous part. Because the longer you wait, the more listings you find. Sure enough, while casually browsing eBay, I started seeing the exact same card selling for $20 less, and that's when the doubt kicked in. Was I too impatient? Did I pull the trigger too early? For a moment, buyer's remorse started creeping in. But at that point, canceling the order wasn't really an option. Best case, I'd waste everyone's time. Worst case, I'd end up with negative feedback and a seller who never wanted to deal with me again. So I did the only thing I could do. I waited. Fast forward to day 4, and that's when everything went sideways. Oh no, my package was completely soaked. Apparently the delivery driver had left it outside the front door earlier in the day. Then, while I was away from home, a rainstorm rolled through, and now it looked like someone had pulled the box straight out of a river, completely drenched. At that point, I couldn't even blame the seller, the courier, or anyone else. This one was on me. I needed to unbox it immediately. At this point, all I could do was hope the graphics card inside hadn't been affected by the rain. So I opened the package right away, and oh my god! The seller had packed it surprisingly well. The card was wrapped in not 1 but 2 layers of protective plastic bags. Thank goodness, my graphics card seemed to have survived. Even so, I think it's best to let it dry completely before powering it on. I don't want to turn it into a ticking time bomb. Fortunately, the overall condition looks pretty good. It's not overly dusty, and there aren't any obvious signs of damage. As for the design, it's fairly simple and surprisingly lightweight, which isn't too surprising considering this isn't a particularly powerful graphics card. But now comes the moment that actually matters. Does this graphics card still work properly? To find out, I'm installing it into a system with an i5 12600K and 16 gigabytes of RAM. That way, the GPU can perform at its full potential without being held back by the rest of the hardware. The installation itself was straightforward. Even the driver installation went smoothly. At first, to check stability and performance, I fired up Heaven Benchmark, and almost immediately I started noticing something strange. Random flickering, visual glitches, definitely not what I wanted to see. My first thought was the driver, so I reinstalled it twice. Same problem. After digging through forums and watching a few troubleshooting guides, I decided to try DDU and completely remove every trace of the old driver in safe mode. Then I installed the driver again from scratch. Finished the installation, ran the test again, and the exact same issue. At that point, I was running out of ideas, so I went for the nuclear option, a fresh Windows installation. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but I had nothing left to lose. And somehow, it worked. After reinstalling Windows and setting everything up again, the flickering was finally gone. And now it's finally time to find out what happens when the weakest RTX graphics card is asked to play games at 4K. Let's start with Quake 2. This is probably one of the easiest ray tracing games you can run today. With ray tracing disabled, the result is completely absurd. I'm getting around 1,000 frames per second. Seriously, 1,000 frames per second. For a moment, it feels like this challenge is going to be easy. Then I turn on ray tracing, and oh my god, 9 frames per second. That is an absolute disaster. The frame rate falls off a cliff. I've lost a massive amount of performance just by enabling ray tracing. To be fair, the visual difference is obvious. The lighting looks much more realistic. Shadows blend naturally into the environment, and the overall scene has far more depth. But none of that changes the fact that I'm playing a first-person shooter at 9 frames per second, and in a game that relies on quick reactions that's simply not a realistic way to play. Next up is one of the most visually impressive ray tracing games ever released, Control. Even at low settings, the highest frame rate I could achieve was around 30 frames per second. Then I enabled ray tracing, and things went downhill fast. The frame rate dropped to just 11 frames per second, and every now and then I even noticed some screen tearing. Not exactly the cinematic experience I was hoping for. Now let's move on to Cyberpunk 2077. I lowered everything to the absolute minimum, and even then I was only getting around 30 to 40 frames per second. That's without ray tracing. The moment I turned ray tracing on, things got significantly worse. 15 frames per second. And honestly, that's the kind of frame rate your eyes start complaining about almost immediately. At that point, the game feels more frustrating than enjoyable. So what's the verdict? If your goal is 4K gaming, this card isn't particularly impressive. It can do it technically, but the experience often requires major compromises. That said, I wouldn't call it a bad card. Far from it, because if your target is 1080p gaming, this GPU suddenly makes a lot more sense. In fact, for 1080p, it's actually a very solid graphics card.